So class, you're going to be expected to do some case studies soon, and you probably want to know what I expect so that you aren't blindsided by a grade. Now, first I'm going to talk about what I want in your introduction, some expectations that I have for each part of the actual paper, and then finally my expectations for the conclusion and references as well as for your cover page. So first let's talk about your introduction. Your introduction should start with the short, concise sentence that gets the attention of the reader. This may be a fact, it may be an argument, it may be a statistic, it can be anything, but it needs to be a short sentence, about one line. It should not go over the first line, but it should be short. It should lead into your thesis statement. Your first part of your introduction is your attention getter, like I said. Your second part is your thesis statement. Your thesis statement should be a short, concise sentence as well. It should start off with, in this paper, comma, I argue that blah, blah, blah. So something you may choose to do, in this paper, I argue that social penetration theory explains why my social interaction ended in a negative way. It could be anything like that, but you need to only have one argument in your thesis. So it should only be one sentence. You shouldn't have to have commas in that sentence except after in this paper. It should be very concise. After you state your argument with your thesis statement, I need you to go ahead and preview your main points. This will be something like, first, I'm going to discuss the case or the context. Second, I'll discuss the theory that I'm applying to the context. Then I will be applying the theory to the context before providing meaningful implications or things that we can learn because of this study. Then you have a conclusion. After your preview of points, which is what that's called, you need to do a transition. So this may be referring back to your first statement, or it may be referring back to your thesis statement, but it needs to lead into the next section, which will be either you can choose to do your case first or your theory first. If you're going to do your case first, you need to provide enough details that we can understand the context of what you're talking about. We just need to be able to understand a little bit of the backstory of what's going on in whatever you're talking about. Now, this is what you're going to apply the theory to, so it needs to be something that you've experienced, or you can use a movie, an experience that you've watched in a movie, or you can use a current event, something like that. But it has to be something that we can relate to and that we can understand in just a short amount of writing. So you want to make sure that it's not too complicated. You can save your complicated one for your final. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to discuss your theory. What you do is you talk about, just give a short couple sentences about what the theory is about, and make sure to include all the main concepts within the theory. So you might want to cover the onion model or several different other things if you're going to discuss social penetration theory. There'll be a whole nother list of concepts that you might use if you're going to use relational dialectic theory. But this is what you include in the theory section. Now, whenever you're applying the theory to the case, you're going to use the main concepts, or you can just choose one or two of the main concepts from the theory, but you need to say how these link to your case, how these impact your case, or how these help you make sense of your case or context, your story. That's what you're going to be doing in the application section. Now, in the implication section, you're going to be providing us with an understanding of what we can learn from this. Maybe we can be better communicators because of this. Maybe we can help understand other people's communication behaviors because of this. There's a limitless amount of possibilities that you can choose from. In this paper, in the smaller case studies, I would like 1 to 3 sources included in your theory section, and you can also use sources in your implication section. Finally, you should conclude. In your conclusion, you need to refer back to your thesis. So, in this paper, I argued that blah, 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 blah. To do this, I first discussed the case, then I discussed the theory before applying the theory to the case, and then I ended with some implications. And then you refer back to your attention getter. So whatever your claim was in your attention getter, whatever the statistic was or the story or whatever it was, you need to refer back to it. But the reason why we do that is because it provides a good closure. It makes your opening more meaningful and your ending more meaningful. Your last sentence should really get your audience thinking. Just like you leave a speech with something that's really thought-provoking, you want to do that with your last sentence. This is the last sentence that your audience is reading, so you want to make sure that you keep their attention and that you provide closure while keeping them interested in the topic. Now, there are some things that you also need to think about when you're writing. First off, you need to have a cover page. That means you have to have a title. If you want to know how to do the cover page, refer back to the in the additional materials section. You can click on the case study, the sample case study. Look at that, and you can model yours after that. That is APA style. So if you need to do APA style for another class, that's how your cover page should be. You also need to do references. I have an awful memory, so I don't remember what goes first, what goes second, whatever, whenever I'm doing my references. So I use citationmachine.net. They're a really great site. You're more than welcome to use that, or you can use the OWL at Purdue, and they'll give you the rules for APA style formatting. So those are your options. Each section in your case study should be about a paragraph long. In these smaller case studies, these 2-page case studies, that means your paragraphs are going to be pretty small, so that you can include it all in 2 to 2.5 pages. As you get to the bigger case study, the final case study, which is going to be a longer length, you may have a theory section that is 3/4 of a page long, or even a page long, but your application section is really the meat of your paper. So you're going to want to focus on putting your most effort in that, so that I can understand that not only do you understand the theory, but you know how to use it in your life and how to use it in general. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can send your papers in early, and I will give you feedback, and if you resubmit them, I'll regrade them. So if you submit them early, I may give you a grade of 25 out of 50 points, but if you resubmit it by the due date, then you may be able to earn 50 out of 50 points after making your corrections. Again, feel free to ask any questions, email me, whatever you need to do. I look forward to reading your case studies.